Welcome back to Inside the Box. I'm Joanna Lee, and today we are in the premiere episode of 2021's edition of Asian Heritage Month. Today's guest is a musician and radio producer from Vancouver. He is the coordinator for Vancouver Asian Heritage Month Society and the organizer for the ExplorAsian Festival. Some of his notable accomplishments have included a Western Canadian Music Award nomination for Pop Artists of the Year, and an invitation to lecture at UBC's Creative Writing Department. He also serves as a programming director at UBC CITR 101.9 FM and Discorder magazine. Also, he hosts and produces 3 podcasts. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome Jasper Sloan Yip. Welcome, Jasper. It is so great to have you here today.
Hi, Joanna. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So let's start off with your origin story and how you got to where you are today.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So, I grew up here in Vancouver, and I kind of arrived at music somewhat late in life. In my, mid-teens, I started goofing around with instruments, mostly guitar and bass and stuff like that. And it was quietly just playing music in my bedroom for years and years. I never took lessons or anything. It was just a private thing I did. And then I went to university. I went to UBC for a couple of years and wasn't really having a good time. So I left, and I spent a year traveling around Europe. I had family living there at the time. So I had a place to stay, and I was just kind of bombing around. And then when I was over there, I made the decision that I wanted to play music for the foreseeable future. And so when I got back home, I was in my early 20s, and I just started playing music, and I just never really stopped. So, I started literally from the ground up. I started writing songs, and I would go to open mics around town and meet people, and I slowly put together a group of musicians who I still play music with, and we started making records. And then one thing led to another, and I just sort of embedded myself into the musical community here, the old-fashioned way, by playing shows and writing songs and collaborating with folks. And anyways, fast forward to 2 years ago, I started working at CITR, the radio station, in the music department, which was a dream come true for me to start working in radio and working in music. And around the same time, I started working at VAHMS, helping produce the festival. So that kind of brings us up to today.
Wow, that's so amazing. Thank you for sharing your story. And obviously it served you well because you won a nomination for Pop Artist of the Year. And, you have all these things going for you as a musician as well as an organizer for VAHMS.
Yeah, I feel really grateful for all of the experiences I've had working in music and just being a musician, and where I am now, where I get to work in the arts and help people present art, producing events. And it's a real privilege to get to do that. And I'm just really grateful for, it all.
Amazing. So, speaking of VAHMS, how did you get involved with them, and what does your current role entail?
So I joined VAHMS in January 2020. They were looking for a coordinator, and I applied, and they went with me. So I've been with the team now for about almost going on 2 years, I suppose. This will be my second festival.
Amazing.
And my role is, I'm the coordinator there. So my role, I'm kind of involved in a little bit of everything. Like whenever work arrives at the festival, I basically do the work. And that ranges from just sending emails and coordinating meetings and booking artists and interviewing artists. This year we're producing a lot of events ourselves, which is a kind of a departure for VAHMS, and we're producing a lot of content. So, I did like a video session with some artists 2 weeks ago. We were filming them and recording them. And so I produce audio now for the festival. So there's a lot of actual making stuff, which is really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing that it's still happening with the pandemic going on. And, I really appreciate what you do for the community. So another thing I was wondering was, what is the message behind VAHMS?
Well, VAHMS is 25 years old now. This is our 25th anniversary year.
Mm-hmm.
And, VAHMS started with the mission of increasing representation and appreciation for Asian Canadian arts and culture in Canadian society in general. And I don't think that the mission of VAHMS has really changed much over the years. It's really been focusing on celebrating Asian Canadian art, and recognizing Asian Canadians locally here in Vancouver for the contributions that they make to enrich Canadian society. So, that's really what we focus on at VAHMS, is we focus on presenting art, celebrating art, and helping people locally in the Asian Canadian community do the art they want to do.
That's amazing. And we definitely need the support, especially with the way of the world today, right?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. It's been a challenging, obviously the last year has been really hard for everybody. But especially there's been a lot of anti-Asian sentiment on the rise for various reasons that we've all heard about. And that just made things, it has added an additional level of difficulty to an already difficult situation.
Absolutely. So you're also involved with the organization of ExplorAsian Festival. What is it like behind the scenes? And can you tell me more about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So ExplorAsian Festival is the sort of signature project of the Vancouver Asian Heritage Month Society. So May is Asian Heritage Month in Canada, and the festival is a month-long festival that recognizes Asian Heritage Month. And so what we do is we put together a festival program which essentially attempts to consolidate and bring in all of the different community events and exhibitions and initiatives that are happening for Asian Heritage Month in the Lower Mainland, and put them all in one place for everyone and promote them all. And that's what we do. So it's a month-long festival for Asian Heritage Month.
So speaking of projects, what are your recent and upcoming projects that you have going on?
Cool. Yeah. Do you mean like at ExplorAsian or sort of me personally?
I guess both personally and ExplorAsian.
Cool. Yeah. Well, let's see. We're taping this at the very end of April, you and I.
Yeah.
So we are days away from the opening of ExplorAsian Festival. So everyone here at the festival is very focused on the work that we're doing. We have a really exciting project that I'm particularly excited about. It's on May 29th. It's at the end of the festival, and it's a collaboration with Festival Access Asia in Montreal and Asian Heritage Manitoba, which is based in Winnipeg. And we are collaborating to produce the first ever Asian Heritage Month Artist Showcase. So we're doing like a live broadcast that's going to travel across the country.
Yeah.
And VAHMS is producing a third of it. And so we have filmed a video with two amazing local Asian Canadian artists, and we are going to present that video. And I'm really excited about it because it's just the first time we've ever collaborated nationally with other Asian Heritage Month organizations. So we're hoping we can make it like an annual sort of thing that takes on a life of its own.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, really, that's going to be really cool. And personally, my band and I have a new album coming out this year. We actually just got the master recordings back a couple days ago, which has been it's been a while in the making. It's an album that we started recording it the first week of the shutdown.
Wow.
And then we only got to finish half of it because everything shut down. And then instead of finishing the stuff that we had for that, we decided to record another second half of new material.
Nice.
So it's an interesting sort of double sort of mini album that was made on either end of the shutdown. So
yeah.
So that's coming out too later this year.
Wow, sounds like you've accomplished a lot during the pandemic, and that's quite inspiring to hear.
It's been a hard year, emotionally for me, speaking personally. I'm sure everyone has their own story, but
Really.
it's a lot, there's a lot to process this year, and I was able to make some stuff, which is great. So I'm pretty grateful for that. I mean, I had a lot of help and a lot of support. Like
Mhm.
my musical project is a very collaborative one. It's a bit unfortunate that the music is published under my name,
Yeah.
for reasons that, I mean, it just goes back to because I started as like a person on my own, but
Yes.
it's turned into a big group effort. There's 6 other people that I make music with, and then I have people that I collaborate with and for videos and for other art projects. And so there's a I guess what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of people that help me do what I do, and it's really as much theirs as mine.
Speaking of current events, and with the way of the world today, how can we bring in cultural diversity and openness to society during Asian Heritage Month?
Mm. Yeah, that's a great question. When I think about this a lot, actually, because like I think it's great that we set aside time out of the year to recognize certain folks. So, Asian Heritage Month or Black History Month or, whatever. It's great that we do that, but it's also whenever, I think about this a lot at CITR because we do special programming so we'll do stuff for Asian Heritage Month, Black History Month, etc. But when I'm talking to people that I work with about this, we try to, like when I'm talking to programmers at the station, let's say,
Mhm.
I'll say like, hey, it's Asian Heritage Month is coming up, and it's a great opportunity for you to maybe highlight Asian voices or highlight Asian stories in your programming.
Absolutely.
But it's also great to just do that all the time. Like it would be great to get to a place where we are making decisions as presenters of art, let's say, where we're just including all of this great diverse content all the time, and we don't really, we don't wait for Asian Heritage Month to play music by Asian Canadians. You know what I mean?
Absolutely,
That
yes.
being said, how we're, I feel like my life right now is Asian Heritage Month. It's like it's what I
Yeah.
do all day, every day now, especially these days. So I, that's how I'm spending Asian Heritage Month, is just like presenting stuff and tweeting about stuff all day, and doing webinars with people, hosting events and stuff. So yeah, that's what I'm doing for Asian Heritage Month.
That's amazing. So, speaking of accomplishments, and you've accomplished quite a bit in this short period of time with VAHMS. What are your other proudest accomplishments?
Well, I'm really proud of how, like speaking about VAHMS, I'm really impressed with how we handled the last year. I joined the team in January of 2020, and our festival's in May, and it is quite a complicated festival. Like a normal festival will have like 50 events, happening over the span of a month. And last year, we got shut down at the end of March or something like that, right? And so we had to really quickly, 2.5 months away from the start of a festival, turn an event-based festival into a virtual one. And we did a pretty good job of it. And I think we learned a lot of really good lessons that year that we've been able to carry over to this year. And, we were kind of anticipating a smaller festival this year, given the state of affairs. And we were wondering if a lot of our partners were going to be able to do the events that they wanted to do. And we were really pleasantly surprised by the response that we've had from different community partners. And we actually are bringing like a pretty large festival this year with a lot of events. So I'm really proud of that.
That's amazing. And as a leader in the Asian community, how would you help or inspire future generations?
Well, That's very kind of you to think of me as a leader in Asian Canadian arts here in Vancouver. I feel like a very behind the scenes person. So I wouldn't necessarily think of myself as a leader in that department, but I think it's great that VAHMS is here, to provide avenues for Asian Canadian artists who maybe feel like they don't fit in the sort of normative, I guess, whatever the normative avenues for art are. I mean, I can relate to that feeling. I remember when I started making music, I didn't feel like I really belonged anywhere that I went for a long time. And I don't know, well, a lot of that had to do with just being an inexperienced and self-taught artist.
Yes.
That was really beginning from nothing. But, there were times where I did feel like, as a racialized artist, I felt like I didn't belong in that aspect. Like I was maybe operating in very white spaces, which maybe I was subconsciously uncomfortable with or made to feel uncomfortable. So I think I've been, I guess, doing this for, I guess, what is it, 2021 now?
Yes.
I'm just doing some math in my head. So I've been doing it for over 10 years, 10, 12 years, pretty active in the music community here. And I think things have gotten a lot better, especially over the last year. I think our sort of collective consciousness has really woken up to some of the inequitable issues with the art world or the music world specifically. And I think there's an awareness now that it's not enough to just not be racist, but we need to be actively anti-racist and really, yeah. So I think future. I mean, I think the hope is that the people that come after us will have an easier time of it than we have had, and I know that's certainly true. I know that I've had an easier time than my father did. And his generation. And so I'm immensely grateful for that. And so I hope that the work that we are doing now makes life easier for the people that come after us and more equitable.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great goal to have. And I was also wondering, what does it personally mean to be of Asian heritage for you?
Yeah, that's an interesting question too. I feel like I've never felt more Asian than I have in the last few years.
Yes.
Growing up in the 90s, people didn't talk about race, right? We didn't talk about a lot of the things we talk about now, like sexuality and race and, a lot of, and the politics that surround them. So growing up, I don't even know, I have a hard time remembering how I identified back then, because I know that I know that my sort of the part of me that self-identified as an Asian person,
yes,
was definitely a lot more closeted.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe closeted isn't the right word, but it just wasn't really at the forefront of my mind. It was very internalized, and I internalized a lot of discomfort that I didn't have vocabulary to really understand.
Yeah.
And over just even the last 5 years, let's say, and especially as I started working at CITR, which is a very, it's a really progressive and open space, and I've really learned a lot from the people that I work with there.
Mm-hmm.
About understanding my own sort of intersectionality.
Yes.
And then working at VAHMS too, and sort of learning, I hear so many stories now, working with people at VAHMS and the partners at VAHMS, so many Asian-centric stories and so much Asian-centric art. It's really put me in touch with my own Asianness, my own Asian identity, and it's been really cool. It's just a really cool thing to go through, and it's an ongoing thing that I think about every day now.
Absolutely. And it sounds like you're learning more about yourself as
Yeah.
you go along with this job. And it doesn't really sound like a job. It sounds like a life experience in a way.
You're right. It has really, I mean, a lot of it is administrative work, which is not particularly inspiring, but a lot of it really is inspiring. And a lot of it, it's really given me a lot to think about, and it's really taught me a lot about myself, and I'm really grateful for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about your podcasts and what they're about, and
Sure.
how you came up with these ideas of having 3 of them.
Yeah, well, sure, I can talk about those. So
Yeah.
I was definitely doing them a lot more during before the shutdown. I was hosting 2 shows. So the first show is just a music show that I was hosting. Excuse me, just music I was curating, which I loved doing. I have fallen off producing that show during the shutdown, but I do intend to pick it back up.
Yeah.
The other show is a show that I inherited at the station. It's called Noise Complaint.
Oh.
Yeah. And it was started by folks that came before me, and it's like it was basically our show it was like a musical guest show. So we would bring on a musical guest, and they would perform for half of the show, and then I would interview them for the other half of the show. It was a very standard sort of performance interview show. That was a lot of fun. I really liked doing that show because I would get to sort of, I would get to set up an audio session and record an artist performing, and then just sort of chat about music. And, I love chatting about songwriting and music production and performing. Like, that's just so many things. So that was a lot of fun. And the third show that I actually started it when everything shut down, and it was called Phone Bill. And the premise of that show is it was our way of getting artists on the air at CITR when we couldn't have them at the station. So it has a really cool aesthetic. It's basically supposed to be like an hour-long voicemail. And I will phone an artist. Like, I'll set it up beforehand. They will curate a playlist of music, and then I will phone the artist, and I will record them hosting the show, and then I'll edit the show together. And so it plays like a big voicemail. So it's kind of a fun show.
Wow, that sounds like a lot of work. It also sounds like
it is actually
fun, fun way of spending your time during the pandemic, especially with all the music and integrating your work with different artists. And yeah, sounds fun.
Yeah, well, CITR it's a campus and community station, and its whole purpose is to provide a platform for people to play their work and share their voices, right? It's all about, it's a place where people can come and learn about media, if they want to host a news show, or they want to host a music show, or they want to write for our magazine, like, we're here for that kind of thing. So when we shut down, like, we had to think of ways to still provide access to the station for people. So this was just one of the solutions we came up with.
Amazing. That's wonderful that you actually provided that avenue, given the situation that we were in, and it sounds like you adapted well to it. So yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, we had, it's a fun show. It's a lot of work for 1 hour of radio, but it's worth it.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your role in the Discorder magazine in UBC.
Sure.
So what is that all about? And, how involved are you in that project?
Right. So Discorder magazine is published by CITR. And I actually do not have a very active role in Discorder magazine. It's kind of its own, like, CITR has the radio side, and then it has the magazine. So I chat with the magazine folks, and we collaborate. Like, we collaborate as coworkers on CITR stuff in general, but the magazine itself functions very independently within the station. So we have an editor and an art director, and a lot of volunteers who contribute the content. So it's a very volunteer powered thing. You know, it's a place where you can get published for the first time as an artist, as a writer, or as an illustrator, or as a photographer. So it's, you know, we treat it like a, it is editorial, and it's also sort of a place where people can learn and develop skills for media. So,
right.
Yeah, we have a great team over there, and I work with them on CITR stuff, but I actually don't contribute to the magazine itself.
Okay, it sounds still pretty cool that you have these multifaceted people that just have different skill set, and they get to share their experience for the first time by publicizing it.
Yeah.
So yeah, speaking of writing, you were a guest lecturer at UBC for creative writing. Can you tell me more about that experience?
Absolutely, yeah. I've done it a couple times now, and this was before I started working at CITR. It was just unrelated, but there's a songwriting class in the creative writing department that's hosted by an acquaintance, a good friend of mine, named Tariq Hussein, who's an amazing songwriter. And he invited me to come and talk to the class about some of my songwriting.
Oh.
And it was like, I mean, it was a really big deal for me. I felt it was a tremendous honor to be invited to speak about my writing at a university level. So I you know, it was quite a thrilling experience for me, especially as someone who like attended that school and was never able to finish. You know, like I never finished my education. I left halfway through. And I haven't really gone back in a meaningful way. So it's a real honor, to speak.
Absolutely. I mean, being a lecturer still is still a fun position to explore, especially at UBC. And yeah, sharing your art, that's amazing.
Yeah. It's, you know, as an artist, it's wonderful when people recognize your work. I mean, it's so much of the time, you know, artists are not recognized for their work, and there's a million reasons for that. It's not a measure of success or failure. I mean, you know, who's to say what art gets attention or is rewarded in this world? You know, there's no real good reason for what, you know, succeeds and what doesn't. But I mean, anytime, like, you know, as a performer, let's say, it always amazes me that people come to see you play. You know, every time we put on a show and people show up, I'm just so thrilled and honored that people care enough to come and see you play. So, you know, it's the same. I felt the same way going to speak at the class. I mean, it just felt like I had a bit of like, I didn't know what I was doing there. You know, I'm like, oh, I don't belong here. But, you know, Tariq is a really great friend and supporter, and he, you know, it meant a lot to me. So.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, sounds like an amazing, one-of-a-kind type of experience. Yeah, so let's talk more about your band and the music you produce.
Okay, yeah. Well, like I said, there's currently there are 6 other people in my band.
Yeah.
I'll quickly list them. There's Marcus, Graham, Alex, Devin, Stephanie, and Owen. They all play different instruments. They're all amazing. And let's see. I've been playing music with Graham and Stephanie, who were the original members, since like 2009. Mm-hmm. So that's 12 years. Yeah. Which is amazing. And, you know, the other folks have all joined sort of over the years, and they're, you know, my best friends. And the music that we publish, the music that we make, is very much their music as well. Like, the way it works for us is I usually will write the songs, mm-hmm. and then we will write the music together. So I will bring an idea to the group, and then we as a group make it into a song, you know? So a lot of the music I mean, all of the music that we publish, like the music that ends up on our records, has been heavily influenced by them and their talents. And yeah, I'm immensely grateful to them because they have contributed so many brilliant ideas and so much life to the songs that, I mean, the songs wouldn't be anything without them. So we are very close, and we're publishing our fourth record, which is this sort of double record thing that I was describing earlier.
Yeah.
It's coming out. So I think we're going to start releasing songs in the summertime. So maybe in June or July.
Yeah. Is there a particular link that keeps us updated and informed about all the projects you're doing?
Yeah, if you go to jaspersloanyip.com, you can. That's kind of my website, so that you can learn about me if you're interested in learning about me. And I have links to the podcast there too, and all the music is there, and the lyrics are all there, and there's some photos and stuff like that.
Awesome. We'll definitely do that. We'll share with the audiences today. Yeah, so I know that you're going to definitely, out of obligation, celebrate Asian Heritage Month every day.
Every day. Yeah. Every day starting 2 months ago.
So how would you, I don't know, tell your audience or suggest to your audience, how could they celebrate Asian Heritage Month this year, especially with VAHMS and the projects that are going on?
Yeah, that's great. So, I mean, basically what we at VAHMS are trying to do is make Asian Heritage Month as accessible as possible to everyone. So if you go to ExplorAsian.org, you can find our complete festival program there, which has as much content as we could possibly get for it. And it has links to everything that's happening. I mean, almost everything that's happening in the Lower Mainland for Asian Heritage Month this year. And there's even more stuff that we weren't able to include in the program because of time constraints. Yes. That we'll be promoting over the month of Asian Heritage Month as well. So if you want to get like the complete, complete thing, you should follow us on like Instagram and stuff, because we will be promoting additional stuff there as well.
Okay, and for all these events like performances and concerts, would you say that these are just advertisements that you guys do on behalf of the artists, or can they buy tickets from you? And is it a paid event, or is it for free?
So almost everything is free.
Okay.
There are everything that VAHMS is producing is free and open to everybody. And most of our partner events are free as well. There might be a handful of ticketed events, yes. But a lot of it's free this year. So that's what's really cool. It's like, there's so much happening, and you can just click through the program and just attend whatever jumps out at you.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing. Yeah. So what are you hoping for this year's ExplorAsian Festival?
Well, I'm hoping, I feel like we've already succeeded this year. It was really hard. It's been a hard year, and
yes, it has.
And we managed to, like usually our festival program is only 2 pages long, but this year it's like 23 pages long. Like we really leaned into the virtual thing, and we've been able to pull it off so far. So, we have a handful of larger events that we're producing ourselves, and I think they're going to go really well. So far everything's going really well. So I feel like we've already done a really great job, everyone at the team. So I'm pretty happy.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing all that. And it was absolutely wonderful to have you here today with us, Jasper. Thank you for your time. And to our audiences, thank you for tuning in. Your support means a lot to us. After this, there will be a performance of Jasper, so please enjoy. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for updates on future episodes. In the meantime, please be well, practice kindness, openness, and safe social distancing protocols so that we may all be able to gather in person and support wonderful artists like Jasper. So in the meantime, take care. Bye.
Bye.
I am yours, you say, with faith in me, no disappointment could shake. What in the world could you possibly know? About me that I, for the life of me, don't. And I am yours, I say. I look in your eyes and we both look away. Something I cannot name's bothering me. It's under the table and tugging my sleeve. We can all go back. We've killed every lover that we couldn't catch. If everything we've ever done's left to know, then all bad luck has saved us from worse fate somehow. So what do you propose? What should we do, honey? Where should we go? I will go anywhere you'd like to be. We can head for the hills and lay low by the sea. Baby, let's go out. Put up your head.